What's going on, everybody? Stubbs here from Retro Handhelds. Today we're taking a look at the retro power version of the AYANEO Pocket EVO, which is their latest Android handheld. This thing looks absolutely phenomenal, and in my testing in the last few days, I've had a lot of fun with it. It really packs a punch with the Snapdragon 8 G3x Gen 2 chipset, which can play well up to Switch, pretty much whatever you want, but there are a few caveats and things that I stumbled upon in my testing that we're going to take a look at today. What we have here is a 7-inch OLED screen. This does get 800 nits peak brightness, HDR, 165 Hz screen, 315 ppi pixel density, with the same chipset we saw in the AYANEO Pocket DMG, but to me, in my mind, a much more sensible horizontal form factor with really nice ergonomics. And we're gonna have to see when we get the AYN2 Portal in our hands here, because this one might not only compete with it, but it might be better. So we'll see. But I've been pleasantly surprised, and I can't wait to show you what I found. All right, let's hop in. All right, so starting out, if you get yourself the extra box with goodies with this, it will come with such things as this stand. This kind of reminds me of the Asus ROG Ally stand. You again get the nubbins. Real gamers, no gamers. Cup. Ooh, screen protector. And fun stickers. You can't have Aya without fun stickers. All right, we don't need to do an unboxing. It's already been unboxed. This was sent for review from AYANEO. All opinions are my own. No money has exchanged hands in any way. One thing that really struck me was this hard case they sent. Ow! And I really like the grip and the handle on this, so this might be worth an upgrade if you want to get this case. It's by, looks like YKK or Geekshare. And you get some nice, ooh, look at that. It's a soft. That's very soft. Now this is one that I was initially a little like, well, okay, this is gonna be nice. We'll see, we'll see. You know, it has the body design of the AYANEO 2S. And when I got this in, I started messing with it. And I'm like, oh, okay, right off the bat, this feels just very nice. And I like the non-slip plastic they have. This appears to be the same plastic that was on the DMG. And once again, this retro power will cost you a bit more, but overall the cost for this device is less than the Pocket DMG, which is nuts to me because I think this is so much better and will make sense for so many more people. The first thing that really stood out to me after the shell was just how nice it felt, and the ergonomics of these bumps. They're not overdoing it and they're not too crazy, but they just work. You have the air intake here, and we have exhaust up there. Start and select are down here, and then you have the ISpace button there, and then your other functions here and there. Now this one is the 1 terabyte with 24 gigs of freaking RAM on an Android device. Can you believe that? That is crazy to me. That is absolutely crazy. So this will handle anything you throw at it. This would be a great option for like Winlator, not only Switch emulation and Vita, Xbox, I mean, Wii U. You're really held back by the software at this point than you are the hardware, because this thing is a beast. And look at this colorway too. So those red buttons look really nice. And you get these Hall joysticks, they do pop right off. And here is the D-pad. Now the D-pad I didn't love. It's a little bit loosey-goosey in my testing, and sometimes I get some accidental presses or I navigate menus funky. It feels good, but maybe just a little too loose for my liking. And the sticks, I was struggling with a bit at first too. You actually need to go in and calibrate these sticks. So after I did that, it helped just really get your dead zones tight because they are so sensitive to any little movements. And so it took me a few minutes to get going with these joysticks, but they're nice and big and they just feel really good. Now, one thing that people might say is, okay, why the glass front again? Why are we doing these glass fronts? And this is common this year. You know, we saw it with not only AYANEO's devices, but we're seeing it now with AYN and also Retroid with their RP5 and the Mini. We're doing these glass fronts, and I guess that's more premium. I'm not super into either camp on that one. It's fine. You know, I don't know if it is more premium. I would say you can usually skip getting a screen protector since the whole thing is glass. It will get fingerprints. I haven't noticed it get smudgy beyond on the screen itself. And if you want a quick size comparison, we're going to skip comparisons today for the most part, but here's just a quick one with that RP5. But these are a nice companion set. So you have your pocketable option here, and I would say this is definitely not pocketable, and don't try because it is, you know, kind of large. Now looking down below, we do get USB-C, and this has display out over USB-C. And this is really cool. I've never seen this before. Look at the micro SD card slot. So you know how you usually have to like fiddle with this and like get it all just right to get it out? Look at this. So you push in and it has some sort of rotating gear. Look at this. Satisfying gear. Take a listen to this. Oh yeah, that's a good gear. The game gear is what that is. 512 gigabyte card in there. So once again, you have a sensitive power button here. This also is a fingerprint reader, which is nice to have. And you have your, you know, M1 and M2 extra buttons you can assign there. You have this button, you don't press it, but you pull it to the right, and that's going to change your turbo mode, either turbo, silent. It'll switch between performance modes. Volume up and down. And this overall in the back, and this type of plastic here, you're not going to see fingerprints. I'm guessing on the black version of this you will, so just be aware of that. This is just a very premium handheld so far, and it has the price to match. So let's take a look at the website. So up here on Indiegogo, we can see that starting at $389 for that Pocket EVO, 8 gigabytes plus 128 gigs of internal storage. And these are shipping now to backers, by the way, so only 28 of 134 claimed. We have a ways to go there. We also can get a 12 gig plus 256 for 463, 16 gig plus 512 for 534, 16 gig plus 1 terabyte for 594. And here we go, the early bird for this retro power here, 24 gigs, 1 terabyte of storage, $645, which actually, when compared again to the DMG, coming in at $672, like this is at least better than that, and you get more RAM and more screen real estate and more really usability with this widescreen. Now, if we look and compare it to the AYN campaign and look at the Odin 2 Portal, which we get AMOLED handheld with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, 1080p, 7-inch, 120 hertz touchscreen there, 8,000 milliamp hour battery compared to this one, which we get, they get an 8,600 milliamp hour battery for $334. You can still get the Odin 2 Portal here with 8 gigs plus 128. That matches up to the entry level at $392. So this looks like just a very compelling offer. You know that the software here should be really strong right out the gate, and you're gonna have that tried and true face buttons, D-pad, joysticks, and you can get it all the way up to 16 gigs and 1 terabyte for $500. So the top end of this at $500 compared to the top end of the EVO at $645. Although if you want to do like for like, the 16 gig plus 1 terabyte here is $594 versus the 501. So you are paying a premium again to get the Pocket EVO. You are getting that bigger battery, a little bit more in the ergonomics area, because the one thing that concerns me with the AYN Odin 2 Portal is that if we saw Retro Game Core's video recently, you would have seen that the ergonomics on this are good, but not great. And so people might prefer actually the Portal over that. I need to get it in my hands to confirm, but we'll see which one kind of is better ergonomically speaking, because what's a gaming handheld if you don't actually want to play on it for hours and you can only play for 20-30 minutes before your hand starts cramping. Now there's other, minor things to take into account if we compare apples to apples here. Both of them have the LED lighting on the joysticks. One difference though I want to mention is you get front firing speakers on the Portal, but you get down firing speakers. I always prefer to see front firing, although you may cover the speakers with your hands on these handhelds, so you might muffle some of that, what would be better sound. But in my testing, these have sounded really nice just coming out the bottom there. And when looking at the different color options here, we do get not only the retro power model, which, it looks really cool, but I would say it's not necessary, and you don't need to spend $645 to get it, and you probably also don't need 24 gigs of memory. If you want this color, it is once again locked behind the highest tier price point. But the white and the black both look good. The black, I would imagine, might have that smudgy plastic, so I might opt instead for getting one of the lower SKUs with the white. I really think that's going to be the best bang for your buck there. The 8 gigs on the entry model with such a crazy screen, 165 hertz, maybe doing some win later, things that are good in this. I actually now think the 8 gigs might not be best for everybody, and you're going to be future-proofing it a bit better if you step up to that 12 gig option. The internal storage doesn't matter as much to me because you can just throw a micro SD card in. In fact, now you can get a 2 terabyte micro SD card on Amazon or directly from SanDisk. I'll include that below. All right, back to the handheld at hand. Back to the handheld in my hand. Now, taking a look at the face buttons, let's take a listen. I like quiet devices. I prefer quiet buttons. If you really are a fan of clicky, I don't know if this is going to be for you because these shoulder buttons are just dead silent. I love that. And I also love on the analog stick, you get that full range of motion there. That just feels really good. These are super quiet. When you're pressing these buttons individually, they're not too loud, but if you press them all at once like that, you're going to hear some familiar, almost RP Mini style clacking. The travel and play on them are pretty decent. They're a little small for my liking. I wish those could have been just a little bit bigger because you have these big, comfy Xbox style joysticks here. You also have a break from the glass in the front panel. You have a little bit of plastic there, so you're not going to get grinding against the glass or anything. It definitely has some separation. As far as the weight goes, the weight is really nicely balanced on this. If you held like a AYANEO Odin 2 Mini, the weight is just not balanced. It's kind of like a little brick, even though it probably weighs less than this. But it feels on par, you know, maybe with the G Cloud, like that sort of weight distribution, just very comfortable. We get 485 grams, so it's definitely heavier. I've not seen the battery drain very fast in my testing either, which was nice to see. All right, enough of my yapping, huh? Let's see what this thing can do. So if you're gonna use the fingerprint reader, realize that you're gonna have to turn on some sort of screen lock, although it unlocks, of course, right when you put your finger on there, and it works really well in my testing. So this OLED screen just gets crazy bright. I mean, like, really, really bright. Really bright, and also it goes near completely off. So I'd say there's just a very nice range, and the colors are just very crisp and vibrant. You get your usual options here in settings. You get your internet, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and you get your usual ISpace and launcher on here, which looks so much better on this bigger screen than the smaller DMG for my eyes. Now, AYANEO has their own launcher there, and you can feed all your games on your SD card, and it's going to put them into these different lists here, but it's not going to scrape box art, it looks like, so you will have to import that yourself. But it's nice to have as an option, and the emulators these pair with, in general, works pretty well. You do get your other options here. Enhance! Oh, this is a lot of fun for playing Android games on, which is like my favorite and main use case for it, I would say. Emulation, yeah, of course, this is going to rock through it. And we're gonna take a look at it, but I just think this is such an awesome handheld for playing some of those higher end Android games and even just simple ones. My preferred launcher right now, which is Console Launcher. This is a new alpha. Console Launcher is just very calming. It's a very calming front end. So it automatically loaded in all my games here. So if you want to get even more in the weeds, you can go into the IS settings. And taking a look at the fan, let's just go straight to the max. It's not uncomfortably too loud. I mean, it's not a screeching or painful sound, but it definitely is very loud on max. But it moves air and cools down that G3x Gen 2 very nicely. Going to a more moderate standard mode here, and the fan has become more like white noise, a little quieter. Here's low mode, which is a nice balance because it's very quiet, but still active and still going. I don't even hear it actually. And power saving, just go ahead and turn that fan off. Especially good for playing retro games. In my testing in the last few days, this actually has not gotten too hot at all. Even on the max mode when I'm playing some of the most demanding games, I found that the fan was able to cool off this chipset very efficiently. in controller, so you can configure these lights here. You can change them to whatever you want, breathing, or I like nice and simple, little accent lighting. You can do device spoofing, and now this is what I've been messing with because a few Android games that I tried to install just would not. It said it was not compatible. I believe this device is showing up perhaps as a tablet. You can go in here and you can spoof other devices. By default, it's spoofing a Galaxy S8 Plus. You can change that to Nubia Red Magic 9 Pro Plus, or even do custom spoofing there, or just disable it. I found no difference in changing those settings though. You might have to sideload some Android games. I'm not sure why they're not showing as compatible. Looking at screen settings there, so we can rock it from 60 Hertz all the way up to 165 Hertz, which is nuts. And I'm thankful to say that this one, you might have saw in my Pocket DMG video, you saw some of that, what might have been maybe PWM strobing effect there. I'm not seeing that on this display now. For emulation, 60 Hertz I think is going to work well, but let's take a look at a few others while we're in here. Sleep mode is quick to go off and on. I left it on overnight and I had minimal power loss. Now, if we want to test to make sure that that is the refresh rate that we're expecting, we can do a quick VSync test. We are getting a clean 60 Hertz there. And thank goodness I'm not seeing that strobing. Now, taking a look at these speakers, in honor of Rob the Retro Tech Dad, Hot Lap League. Yeah, oh, yeah, this has been like the MSI claw of Android handhelds as far as speaker goes. I never hear super decent speakers in these things. Like they work, right? They get the job done. You hear the highs, you might hear the mids pretty decent, but you're never gonna get that bass. And this is one of the first Android handhelds I've tested that really gives me that bassy feel, and you can actually feel it in your palms, which is great. Which is why I love the MSI Claw speakers so much. Part of why I love the MSI Claw speakers so much. Oh, and there's no speaker noise. No speaker noise. None. Silent speakers. All right, let's take a look at some Android games. Not in my town, pal. What's up? Yeah, I've been doing well with these joysticks. In games, especially in Android games, it's just so freaking responsive. And also there's this Aya button, by the way, so you can access your quick settings, which is great. So you can quickly change between performance modes, controller, the lighting, how it works, all the various features of the handheld. You get quick access here, as well as even updating it. So you can get vibration changes, and the vibration feels really intense at violent mode. So cozy just as a nice middle ground. Gentle is a little bit weak, so I think cozy is good. You also can do key vibration and sound tap magic if you want. Do between standard or Japan setting there for AB, XY. You can also switch between an Xbox mode for the controller or not. You also get a gyro switch. And I know this is way overkill, but for just Pico 8 Go, so this is a lot of fun, a great app if you want to just play all the free Pico 8 games and have like a roulette.
Northern Beach.
Let's roll.
Let's go. Choo choo, motherfucker. And while we're at it, let's take a quick look at video out. Okay, so this does work. It mirrors the display here by default. So yeah, you're gonna get that widescreen, but it looks good on these Viture 1 Pros here. It's a little dim though. It's a little dimmer than normal screens I've seen on here. So I'm gonna need to mess with their video out options there. Heat and temps so far have been good. 20 Celsius. Very, very cool temps, just very cool temps. The only place that I notice really heat generate is actually on the screen itself. Let's see how it sits in this cradle. All right, let's take a look at streaming. And yeah, so far I'm not seeing any input lag in my testing in GeForce Now. No! And lastly, looking at some emulation, PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. And this is actually able to play up to a 1.5x resolution, even 2x on some games. We're wavering here in the high 50s, being on streamer mode here, so let's actually bump that up to game mode. And we can always try max mode if we run into trouble, but game mode gets us a clean 60 there. And switch emulation running in docked mode here. And then taking a look at 3DS, and we're able to do a 3x or 4x upscale on most games here for 3DS. Here we are at a 4x. Now PS2, let's take a look at Burnout Revenge. We're at standard defaults here, I believe with a 2.5x upscale right now. You know, yeah, we are looking good here. This chipset, once again, is really going to handle pretty much anything you throw at it without breaking too much of a sweat. And we're just going to have to see how it compares soon against the... Likewise, we're looking great in Dolphin here on a 3x native. And yeah, super smooth here. What's nice about having this bigger screen, I found that the DMG screen was just a little too small for my liking, and the fonts, especially in the OS, were very, very, very small and hard to read. Here, we're finding that to be much less the case. Nice big fonts, and I'm able to navigate around the OS with my somewhat questionable vision just fine. You see that Dreamcast now has retro achievements? I saw this the other day, and I'm like, what? Come on. Come on. Yeah, look at that. Retro achievements. Not too reflective, actually. Might as well do a shader, right? So you get some bezels going on here, so that's why the black unit might be better if you want to go for this. Just keep in mind, yeah, you might get some finger smudging, but man, I think it's going to look great for this retro content. Well, what did you all think of the Pocket EVO from AYANEO? This one has been super surprising. Another one where it's like, all right, it should be cool, but I don't know if it's going to be like next level cool. And this one blew me away. I had so much fun testing on it. I actually didn't want to make this video because I'm like, maybe I should test one more day. But beyond emulation, which it's a powerhouse for, just playing Android games, especially like Call of Duty Warzone, is just so much fun, and I can just play match after match because these big controls, finally getting giant joysticks, are so comfortable on Android handhelds with the power to match. And the D-pad was okay. That was like a low point for me, and the face buttons are fine, and in fact maybe a little louder than I'd prefer. I really loved these sloped analog shoulders there. Quiet, very quiet shoulders, and just overall comes together really well, and it doesn't get too hot, which is great. I just want to take a moment to emphasize, while it's downfiring speakers, I found that I wasn't covering them ever, and so it was very full, and you could feel it in the games, and you could feel that power, and you could feel the bass, and it was just clear. I'm very impressed with the speakers, but one thing that I'm not super impressed with is the fact that not all Android games worked. And so yeah, some games like I was trying to play Viture. I couldn't play Viture on here. It wasn't showing compatible. I tried device spoofing. It didn't work. Also tried other games like Wreckfest, and that would have been a really fun test on here, but another one that's not showing compatible. Now, I want to shout out Mr. PD in our Discord, who pointed out that we could sideload that. We could try the Aurora store. We might be able to finagle something, but I decided not to mess with it further right now and just play the games that worked and work well. I don't think you need a screen protector necessarily. In fact, this one I still have to get in a little bit. Ooh, yeah. The all glass front is fine, but it's just very reflective. While I think it's fingerprint resistant, they do show up on there a little bit. So I think they have some sort of coating on there. The UV coating on the actual handheld itself feels really, really good, but I don't like how sensitive the power button is, and so that didn't feel great. I accidentally kept turning it on, just like the Pocket DMG. Yeah, overall, this is one that has proven really impressive. I think for the $300 introductory price, you get something really cool, even for the mid-range. If you're gonna pay over $600, you really are in just get a Steam Deck Bro territory there. And I would say at the $600 mark, probably again, the Retro Power 24 gig model, just get a Steam Deck Bro. But I like the matching case, and that's a lot of fun. But what you're paying here is if this is for you, this is a so sleek, early Steve Jobs, Apple sort of vibes here with the level of engineering that you see into this. You can tell that a lot of love was put into this one, and AYANEO is coming along with its Android handhelds better and better all the time. I really enjoyed my Pocket Air. The DMG, in the end, I don't know if that's one I'll keep, you know? The Pocket DMG, I just, yeah, that one didn't quite strike it for me like this one does, but this is gonna be the one to beat. I mean, and comparing it to like the RP5, it's bigger, it's faster, it's much more expensive, and so this is another alternative you could consider. It has a Snapdragon 865 inside, and so that's not gonna be as performant, but it's still gonna play a lot of what you probably wanna do. It's gonna play Android games, and it comes in at about $220. The one I'm really excited for is to test out the AYANEO Odin 2 Portal, and that is going to be one that I think might be able to top this, but we'll see. Do I consider getting this now recommended over the Odin 2 or Odin 2 Mini? I would say also probably not, because you have software on the Odin that is so more advanced and sleek, and so the Odin 2 really is probably still the best Android handheld right now if you want to get a little bit bigger size. But if you want a bigger screen and you want that beautiful OLED screen without compromising anything, and like this thing just does it all, I think it's an awesome choice. The software is a little bit clunky though compared to AYANE's, so be prepared for that, and Retroid's. Although it's coming along, it still has some wonkiness. Device spoofing does nothing. I don't know what that's about. But I still might recommend the AYANEO series of devices over it. We will see again how it compares to the Portal and Retroid as well if you want to save some money. But for that niche, you know who you are. And if you back this thing and you know what you're getting, this is one I don't think I'll see myself letting go of ever. I'm going to keep playing on it, and this probably will become my daily driver for just enjoying games, streaming, micro SD card slot. That crazy little boop. Whoop, come on, open it. Love that, so satisfying all day. All right, by now I'm probably being called an AYANEO shill in the comments. It is available on Indiegogo currently. I want to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think of this Evo? And I want to thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share to stay in the know for all of your favorite retro handhelds. And a special thanks once again to our Patreon members, Discord subscribers, YouTube subscribers. You make all of this here possible for us. Thank you so much. Perks with RH start for as little as $3 a month. Join us in our Discord to chat and play games, and join me on the podcast where we're going to be talking all about this and other things. And I'm going to be reporting back to you from MSI later this week, so stay tuned for that because we got to talk about the new Claw. That'll be fun. Until the next one, this has been Stubbs with RH. Take care of those handhelds, everybody, and each other.